So let's start off with that. We're going to talk about RMDs and how RMDs affect people in retirement. What is an RMD? RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution. Okay, I call it a ticking time bomb in retirement. Like people don't even know that it's going to go off. They get into retirement, they're in their 60s or whatever. They go get Social Security. They might have a pension, and they might be pulling out a little bit of money from their savings and whatnot. But by the time they get into their 70s, they're forced to pull out the RMD, the Required Minimum Distribution. Now, why would Uncle Sam force you to pull out this money? It's because he wants his tax. So you're going to be forced to pull out a certain percentage every year from any deferred accounts that you have, and I'm talking about 401ks, IRAs, anything that you owe tax on, and they're going to force you to pull out a certain percentage every year and pay tax. Now, this is going to affect you 3 different ways in retirement. We're going to go over those. So the first way this affects you, let's say the market's growing, your account's growing, it's a great year, okay? You're making money. You turn the appropriate age for the RMD, you're forced to pull out the determined percentage and pay tax on it. But what are you doing to your portfolio? What are you doing to your portfolio at that moment? You're stifling your growth. The whole point of keeping the money there was so that you could let it grow, so that you would have it for a later date. But because you're forced to pull out the RMD, now you're stifling your growth. And unfortunately, once you get later on into late 70s, early 80s, you go into what's called a no man's land, where sometimes you're pulling out more than what your growth was actually that year. Now, the second way this affects retirees in retirement is not every year's a good year. Sometimes you got bad years and you're losing. Uncle Sam doesn't care if you're losing in the market. He's going to force you to pull out that RMD. You're going to pay tax on it. But what are you doing to your portfolio at that moment? You're doubling your losses. The number one rule of investment is buy low, sell high. What did you do here? You did the complete opposite. You bought high and you sold low. So that's the second way this affects retirees. Now, the third way this affects retirees, and this is what gets to me the most, and it's about taxes. Right here, we've got the 15% tax bracket. Then we've got the 22% tax bracket. We got the 24%. What happens is people get into retirement and their income might drop a little bit. And they're sitting probably in about the 15% tax bracket. The first year you pull out the RMD, it might not be so much money. But every year you get older, the percentage that you're forced to pull out gets higher. So every year you're pulling out more and more and more money, whether you want to or not. So what ends up happening is you get pushed into higher tax brackets down the road. The number one thing that 80-year-olds complain about isn't the joint pain, isn't the arthritis. It's those darn RMDs, because they're forcing you to pay all this extra tax. And because your income has gone up, your tax brackets have gone up, and you're paying extra tax on stuff that you weren't paying extra before, like the Social Security. Your Social Security tax goes higher. Your pension tax goes higher. So what we look to do is, if we can, reduce or eliminate the RMD so you don't have to deal with it anymore. That's the goal. Now, in retirement, if you start the RMD schedule and you're pulling out, you're paying tax, whatnot, you pass away and you send those funds to your beneficiaries, right? The funds go to the beneficiaries, they receive them, and they still owe tax on them. They will have to continue to pull out the RMD, and they will have to continue to pay the tax. What's going to happen is their income's going to go up, and then their taxes are going to go up. So thanks, Mom and Dad. Once again, that's why we want to be able to reduce or eliminate the RMD. Now, I run RMD reports for my clients all the time. I give them out like candy. And I'm going to show you, I'll gather a little bit of information from you, and I'll show you, hey, this is how much your RMD is going to be every year, and this is what your tax impact is going to be at. And then we'll also go over, hey, these are the strategies we can do to reduce your RMD through retirement. All right, so that's what the RMD is in a nutshell. If you've got any more questions about the RMD, put it in the chat below. I'll have my partner answer them right now.